So there's a terrifying situation that's currently going on around the Titanic. Yes, the massive ship that hit an iceberg. It's now become a tourist attraction, which is fine and all until the submarine taking the tourists down goes missing. Safe to say someone's losing their job. So today we're talking about the whole situation revolving the sub and the terrible interview the person behind this company did that really makes you think, how did a disaster like this not happen before? So to start things off, the object the people are trapped in, that's the OceanGate submersible Titan. It's a small submersible, which essentially means it's a massively nerfed submarine. To use a garbage mobile analogy, think of the submarine as a level 100 boss. It can go wherever it wants, whenever it wants. The submersible is a level 1 crook. It can't go anywhere on its own. It needs to be transported to its mission, and you can send it on its way, but it needs to be heavily supervised. As a watercraft, it should be your last choice because it's completely reliant on the boat above. And the boat above doesn't know where this thing is right now, and they are roughly 12,000 feet below sea level, so here's a terrifying chart to illustrate that for you. And for some context, the sunlight reaches roughly 3,000 feet below sea level, so it's safe to say it's dark down there. Now, to make things worse, if the submersible is stuck at the bottom of the ocean, they can't just rescue them because of the design of the submersible. They don't have a hatch. They have to literally be drilled into the submarine. That is worse design than that 3D plane seat map they wanted to test. Both designs have the end user being stuck in a cylinder smelling farts. Bravo. So for them to be rescued, they would need to take another submarine to go down to that depth and pick them up and drag them up to the surface. But to make things even worse, there are little to no crafts that could actually go down there and do such a mission, and they only have roughly 20 hours of air as of recording this video. And to continue to make things worse, no one's ever been rescued at that depth, ever. And clearly all of this is terrible, but it just keeps getting worse because an interview with the people responsible of the submersible recently resurfaced. And it's safe to say things now look even worse for the people trapped down under there.
It's a very unusual business. It's its own category. It's a new type of travel.
It's a new type of travel. Yeah, it sounds like a very slow and dragged out version of being on the Space Shuttle Challenger. An absolute nightmare. This situation and that kid who jumped from that cruise ship a couple weeks ago who was most likely eaten by sharks sounds like two of the worst ways to leave Earth. Obviously, it's not fully over yet, but if they're not found in a few hours after this video is released, my point stands.
Stockton Rush is the CEO of OceanGate, a company that offers dives to the Titanic in a one-of-a-kind carbon fiber submersible for $250,000 per person.
Wait, so you're telling me the average person would have to work for 5 years, not spend a dime, and evade taxes just to afford to see the Titanic for a couple hours and risk dying? That doesn't sound worth it at all. A VR kit sounds like a way better way to spend that money. And then you have an extra $249,000 to put against a home payment.
But the star of the show is the Titan, Stockton Rush's custom-built submersible. 5-inch thick carbon fiber capped on each end by a dome of titanium. If all went well, I myself would be spending about 12 hours sealed inside on a dive to the Titanic. Not gonna lie, I was a little nervous.
Well, with hindsight, you have every right to be. Like, everything about this thing looks sketchy. Why are they not using an actual submarine? That's my first question. I guess it's just a cost thing, but it just looks like you're sitting in a sealed drain pipe.
An experimental submersible vessel that has not been approved or certified by any regulatory body and could result in physical injury, disability, emotional trauma, or death.
Nice.
Wow.
Inside, the sub has about as much room as a minivan.
So this is not your grandfather's submersible. We only have one button. That's it. It should be like an elevator. You know, it shouldn't take a lot of skill.
The Titan is the only 5-person sub in the world that can reach Titanic depths, 2.4 miles below the sea. It's also the only one with a toilet. Sort of. And yet, I couldn't help noticing how many pieces of this sub seemed improvised.
We can use these off-the-shelf components.
I got these from Camper World. We run the whole thing with this game controller.
Is that really a knockoff Xbox controller? They didn't even want to get a real one? Ah, yes, I'd love to spend $250,000 to have my life in the hands of a Logitech gamepad F710. Yeah, that's beyond terrifying.
It seems like this submersible has some elements of MacGyver-y jerry-riggedness. I mean, you're putting construction pipes as ballast.
I don't know if I'd use that description of it, but there's certain things that you want to be buttoned down. So the pressure vessel is not MacGyver at all, because that's where we work with Boeing and NASA and the University of Washington. everything else can fail. Your thrusters can go, your lights can go, you're still going to be safe.
Unless you lose connection to the main boat. Yeah, one can only assume that the CEO wants to delete this interview and video because it shows how lackluster their entire operation is. And what makes things even worse is an OceanGate employee came out in 2018 and warned about these major safety issues with the operation, and he was fired for bringing this up to the team. So that clearly shows a lack of leadership and a complete disregard for the lives of their customers. I mean, even his own life, as the CEO himself is one of the people missing on board. And to make things worse, I found a clip that the Twitter account Ketchup posted where the CEO went into detail saying he would rather hire more inexperienced people rather than the experienced submariners that have been doing this for decades.
Listen to what he talks about. The CEO talks about hiring people.
Yes, I mean, when I started the business, one of the things you'll find, there are other sub-operators out there, but they typically have gentlemen who are ex-military submariners, and you'll see a whole bunch of 50-year-old white guys. I wanted our team to be younger, to be inspirational, and I'm not going to inspire a 16-year-old to go pursue marine technology. But a 25-year-old, who's a sub-pilot or a platform operator or one of our techs can be inspirational. And so we've really tried to get very intelligent, motivated, younger individuals involved because we're doing things that are completely new.
In my opinion, this could be related to the guy we just talked about being fired. Too many of the veterans might have been saying, wait a minute, this might not be safe. So I guess they just didn't want to hire them. And as if things couldn't get worse, it keeps getting worse because apparently the window that they use in this terrible submarine, it's only rated for 1,300 meters down below the sea. That's roughly 4,000 feet. The Titanic, as we went over earlier, is over 12,000 feet deep. So that's a problem right there, to say the least. And a New Republic article wrote, Lockridge learned that the viewpoint manufacturer would only certify to a depth of 1,300 meters due to an experimental design of the viewpoint supplied by OceanGate, which was out of the pressure vessels for human occupancy standards. OceanGate refused to pay for the manufacturer to build a viewpoint that would meet the required depth of 4,000 meters. So it was inevitable that a disaster was going to happen. And I guess they just got away with this for so long because of how niche this company is. This is absolutely outrageous, and I'm going to be very interested in seeing what happens to this company after all this. Well, there may be just like a little bit of positive news here. Don't get your hopes up though, but they may have roughly located where it is. They rely on sonar to find the submersible because, as we've already established, it's dark down there. But they have recently detected some banging sounds, so they may actually be close to finding where it is. Getting it up though is a whole different problem. But I mean, hey, if you want to go down another rabbit hole, this TikToker lived in the forest for 7 months until the police shut him down. He then went on the run and documented everything with a drone, even the police showing up and him taking off. So that is an absolute wild story you can check out here, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.